All right, we're live. And welcome to our Wednesday's Real Talk on Real Estate. I'm working a little bit late because I had office work to do today, real life stuff. I had to get paperwork done, and we have end of month stuff coming up, and we're getting invoiced from apartment complexes that are being built all over the country here. And so I wanted to talk to you guys today predominantly about the recession and the recession that people continue to say that we're in. We weren't in a recession. We are moving into a recessionary market though. And I'll tell you guys where it's coming from and why it's happening. Okay. So take notes on this stuff because this stuff will help you guys. And this is the stuff that we do research on and we're watching and I talk about, but people kind of vaguely listen to it. But now it's starting to unfold the way we've talked about this since 2019. I'll be honest. I thought this was going to happen in 2018. Then that came and went. Then I thought this was going to happen in 2019 and it came and went and the pandemic came. And I thought, okay, this is definitely the recession, right? We had just had an expansion from 2008 all the way to 2019. We're at 11 years and nothing. And then the pandemic hits. We have like a 3 month compression. And then the market just goes haywire, just out of control. And people are making money hand over foot. It doesn't matter if you're a veterinarian, you're a real estate professional. It doesn't matter if you're a dentist, you're a real estate professional. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher making 60 grand a year, all of a sudden you're a real estate badass. And this was like 2004, 5, 6, 7, all over again, where you had all these professionals that were walking into the market acting like real estate gurus, and none of them had any experience. And they were just making money. You didn't need to be able to make money. You didn't need to know how to do anything to make money in 2020, 2021, and 2022. You could be almost a stale fish, no backbone having jellyfish and make money in real estate. And so now things are real. And this is the opportunity where real investors make money. And here's why. Because there is going to be massive blood in the water. I'm not just talking about your mom and pop investors. I'm not just talking about your single family residential investors. Those people will feel it. But I'm talking about large assets and larger investors and even median investors. These people that have been pressing into the market and overpaying for stuff. I was in Phoenix. I'm going to tell you guys this quick story before I roll into why this happened. This story is extremely relevant to what's happening right now. Now, when you get beat up so bad and you have to work almost for free for 5 years just to be able to stabilize your asset base, you fix stuff. And I'll tell you, 2008 was a rude awakening for me because what people are going through right now was me in 2008. But I was fortunate because I had companies that were doing 7 figures and 8 figures. They got reduced, they got plummeted for sure, but we continue making capital. So we were able to service debt. Plus we had a lot of debt-free assets like residential single family homes we were building. But what ended up happening was I remember going in and trying to get into multifamily because in 2009, I started buying fourplexes in Phoenix and I started buying these single family homes and we were friggin' crushing it. And it was the rents from those that serviced the bad debt on all the garbage that I had built. And when I say garbage, these are brand new retail centers, right? Like I'm talking Class A, all split face block. I mean, done to a T, gorgeous retail centers that we had built. And I was building these office condos. I had this great little concept going on where I was like, okay, I'm going to build office buildings, but instead of owning the whole office buildings, I'm going to individually parcel them and condo them like residential homes. So that, like, let's say you're a dentist and instead of renting from me, you just buy a piece, one piece of the building. It still sits on like a master lot that is owned by like an association, which is like an office association. And you have a maintenance company that you pay for, and you pay like association fees, just like you do in a residential subdivision. And I condo it off. And the whole concept behind it was you go off, I build these office condos, I sell off 2/3 of it. And then the 2/3 pays for the other 1/3 that I own clear and free because I wasn't into going into debt. I wasn't into using institutional money except for building the asset. But once I built it, I wanted to sell it off, stabilize it, pay it off completely, and then own my little piece, which is an incredible business model, but it limits your ability to grow. Now, the only problem with this was when 2008 hit as incredible of an idea as this was, I landed up with a bunch of office condos, retail centers, and nothing was paying for itself. So it sucked. And so what landed up happening is I went and bought all these garbage fourplexes in Phoenix, right off the 202, right between 40th and 44th Street. I love you. Good night, precious. And so I landed up buying all this garbage real estate right off the 202. So if you guys know Phoenix, or if you guys ever go to Phoenix, you pull out of the airport and you jump on the 202 right between 40th and 44th Street. When you look down now, there's all bunch of vacant land that's going up vertical, all this vertical construction, big, giant commercial center. And those are the people we sold that stuff to. But the fourplexes that are still left were just the last few remnants that I couldn't take down. I tried to buy all of them. We landed up with like 60 some odd units. And that stuff was like D-level real estate. It was garbage. And so when we went in and we bought this stuff, that stuff cash flowed though. We were renting these things for like $600 a month. We were paying like $40,000 for fourplexes, guys. That's $10,000 a unit. Unheard of, right? So it doesn't even matter. Like it's a win-win deal. We are buying single family homes for between $28,000 and $35,000. We're talking like single family homes that are like 1,800 square feet that we're renting for between $900 and $1,100 a month. These things were just knocking down income for us. And so we put this portfolio together. Well, we go in to sell this portfolio in 2016. I'm like, okay, what do I want to invest in? And I'm looking at multifamily. Didn't know about anybody in multifamily. Didn't know who Grant Cardone was. Didn't know anything about this stuff. And never had a Facebook page. And never been on any social media platform. And I'm sitting back just investing in real estate like Jerome invests in real estate, right? So we go in and we start looking at multifamily apartment complexes. And so we go in, we buy 2 complexes. And then I sit back, 2017 rolls around, and I'm sitting back going, man, the market, the numbers, I'm looking at the numbers where I'm looking at 2008, where we're at 2007, when we're at the height of the market, right? And then I'm looking at 2016 numbers, and these numbers are slowly hovering past 2008 numbers. And I'm going, man, these guys are stupid. They're going to get crushed. There is no way we're going right back to 2008. We're going to get crushed. Little did I know that it was going to exponentially go up, and more than 100% increase, even from where we were at here till we get to the height of the market, literally 100% increase, because we went from like 8 caps down to like 4 caps. And then it even went even higher because it went to like sub 3 caps on our cap rates. Some of you guys that are wondering what cap rates are that don't know, I'll put a video at the end of this that explains cap rates, net operating incomes, and evaluations. This is not about that. This is about the recession and what you should be investing in. And this is all extremely relevant to what I'm talking about right now. So we had all this exponential growth, right? Well, here's what happened. And here's why the market is going to get crushed right now. Because all these people, so I'm sitting back and I'm conservative, right? I got beat up for 5 years. I landed up hitting some home runs, not knowing I was going to hit some home runs, but just working my tail off through this process, learning what I'm investing in, really understanding the game from this point forward. So I never get myself caught in that situation ever again. And so I'm sitting back and I'm beating up the brokers in 2016, late 2016. And I not beating them up too bad. By the time we get to 2018, my mouth is running. And so any of you guys that know me, man, once I believe in something, in spite of what's happening, I'm crushing you, man. Like I'm throwing you guys off positions because I'm conservative, and I'm telling the brokers exactly my feelings. I'm very transparent like that. And I'm telling them, look, these guy investors are going to get crushed. They're overpaying. This is ridiculous. We're post 2008 numbers. We're seeing exponential growth. There's no way this is sustainable. We're going to get crushed, right? This is at a time that we're getting 8 caps on real estate. Now, mind you, we went all the way down to sub 3% cap rates, lower than 3% cap rates. This is where the market gets very vulnerable, okay? And so this is all plays into what we're talking about today, why these people are getting crushed, okay? So we go into this, I'm telling these guys at like 7, 8 caps that the market's freaking crazy, that people are insane. They're never going to be able to get out of this stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build these things, because if I build them, then I can come in with like a 12 cap and I can stabilize these things, make you 12% return on my investment versus going and buying these things for a stupid 7 cap. And so that's what I do, so that you guys know where I'm at now. Like, I'm building these suckers, and now I'm building them. And again, we're still building these suckers at 7 caps today, right? And so that was our business model. And then we did cash out refis. We make a bunch of money. Now, Here's what happened, guys. This is our business model. I'm going to compare it to what's happened in the market today. Okay, that way you guys understand the difference, because this is very important to understand. As dry as this is, some of you guys are sitting back going, "Oh, I already know this stuff." No, you don't. Most of you guys don't. Listen, this is the stuff that crushed the market, guys. This is what's gonna happen. Is mark my word, as God is my witness. This is what you're going to start seeing in the news media and Fox and CBS. And like, oh, I don't know what happened. The market just got crushed. No, I know exactly what happened. People got over leveraged. They got greedy, and people that were paying out preferred dividends. These syndicators, these syndication asset management professionals are paying out preferred dividends and all this bullshit on properties. You know what preferred dividends are, guys? That means that no matter how the property performs, that means like no matter what that property cash flows or not, you're going to pay your investors a percentage inevitably, which means that if the market compresses, you're fucked, period. Because when the market compresses, if you're paying out preferred dividends, you're screwed. You have to continue paying those preferred dividends. If that's what's in your syndicate, if that's what's in your SEC documents, when you syndicate that deal, that's what you're paying in spite of what happens in the market. Okay. So here's what we landed up doing. I said, you know what? I want to own these things. I'm greedy. I worked my ass off. I'm greedy. I want to own these things outright. But in part of being greedy, I got to pay people for their money. So I went out and I started raising capital for land, not for assets, for land. I started raising money for land, and I would go out and buy the premium parcels of land that I'm building on today. And I would raise the capital for the land. Then I would entitle the land and make the land value go up and collateralize the land at its retail value, entitled, and utilize that as my down payment. Now, I would go in and put in some money for interest reserve. That's the interest money that the banks want to see in your bank account to know that they have that reserve for 18 months, 24 months, whatever it's going to take you to build out that asset. So if they get those interest payments, right? The bank wants those interest payments. So that's all we would put up. And then we would build the damn thing with bank money, institutional money. And when we were done, we stabilize, and then we just refinance them into a traditional commercial loan that's non-recourse. And we own it outright, free and clear, 100%. No investors, no nothing. We'd pay all the investors back, and we'd raise capital on debt, and we're paying them 10 to 12%. So think about it. The stock market's paying you what now? If you're lucky, 6%, 7, 8% a year. And so you get paid out 10 to 12% working with us. It's a win-win deal. Like, we're crushing it, you're crushing it, and we own this asset, right? Now, we are starting to give a little bit of equity in our deals because we think it's fair that we have a lot of people who've been advocating for us for a long time. So it's awesome, right? Now, check this out. Here's what people did. They didn't have capital. So we've always said raise capital. But they struggled to raise capital. So instead of just building your portfolio, starting off with reasonable assets that are tangible, what ends up happening is people get greedy. And so they go in, they're running these deals as general partners, as GPs, okay? And then they have a bunch of LPs, a bunch of limited partners. That's a lot of investors that are coming into this deal. And the big institutional reefs like BlackRock, Greystone, all these big companies that you guys all know, like BlackRock is a $1 trillion company, right? Like this, it's $1 trillion. It's one of the only $1 trillion companies out there. And so they're governmentally funded. I mean, these investors, these reefs like BlackRock, they are the ones that control the banking industry. Well, the banking industry right now is getting semi-crushed because of what's happening in the world today. Well, guess what? Guess what BlackRock does? They go out and pay preferred dividends. So if you invest in the stock market under a reef like BlackRock, you're going to get paid out a preferred dividend. And so companies like BlackRock are just like regular investors. They have employees that are working for them, and these guys are underwriting stuff. They're no different human beings than you and I. They're learning the exact same stuff that I'm teaching you guys here, and they're learning the exact same stuff from their mentors and everybody else. The difference is they're working for a corporation. They're getting scratched a paycheck. Jerome Powell isn't going out there and, Larry Finch, the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Finch isn't going out there underwriting these deals himself, ladies and gentlemen. You know, he has an executive team that are employees making 6-figure salaries, some of them 7-figure salaries that are doing them for. They're people just like you and I. So you got these nominal people just like you and I that are actually less sophisticated because they can get sloppy, just like a governmental agency, like our federal government doesn't work any different than like BlackRock doesn't work any different than our governmental agencies. There is waste. beyond measure. Last year, 2022, I did a video on it. I talked about it. I said, look, BlackRock just wrote off over over $1 trillion, just shy of $1 trillion in assets. Nobody friggin' heard about it. Nobody. It wasn't anywhere. You had to Google it. You had to search for this stuff. And like, how does that stuff become just okay, right? Like in China, the Evergrande is like a big deal, where their real estate investment firm like BlackRock is getting crushed, and it's a big deal. It's affecting everybody worldwide that invested in that fund. But yet BlackRock just gets away. They walk with it. Well, let me tell you guys something that's happening to BlackRock right now, along with a lot of other REITs. And so even if you can't afford to buy these big institutional assets, it's okay, because what's happening with the big guys is also happening with the small guys. And what they've done to over leverage themselves is going across the board. And so now we're starting to see the light of this happening. And you guys are going to be able to pick up some of these assets that these people bought for sub 4% and sub 3% cap rates. And here's why. Because when you buy for a cap rate that low and interest goes up, if you're on a fixed rate mortgage, you're okay. The problem with most investors is they do interest only loans. They might do a 5-year ARM, so they have a fixed rate for 5 years, and then it becomes an adjustable rate mortgage after 5 years. So you get these people and they go, well, the rates keep going down. I want to be at a 5-year ARM, because in 5 years, I'll probably just refinance anyways, because every 5 years, my plan is to refinance, suck more cash out of the deal, and the values are going up. And they just thought the values were going to exponentially just continue to rise. So they said, okay, I'll just do a 5-year ARM, including BlackRock, including Greystone, including all the big REITs. They're doing the same stuff as all the small investors are doing. So what happens is now a lot of these guys, these 5-year ARMs are coming due. And now they're sitting back. They had maybe a 3% interest rate, and now it's like a slot machine, just going ding, 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 and it's just rising up to 7%, 7.5%. Here's the problem. They purchased that asset at a 3% cap rate, meaning that asset only brings in 3% of what it would cost to buy it cash. So now you're servicing debt on debt, because now you have a 7% interest rate, and you have a 3% cap rate on this thing. Maybe they pushed it up to a 4%, but now there's a 3% spread between the two. So where does the money come from to service that debt? Now, not only that, if you're paying preferred dividends of another, let's say 3%, now you just add 3% on top of that. So if you guys have ever heard me talk, I talk about stocks that I love, and I only buy dividend-paying stocks. And the reason why is they're super safe, like Walmart and Johnson & Johnson. Boeing is getting government funding right now, but like Boeing and all these companies, they pay out preferred dividends. I love that as an investor, because no matter what, whether the stock goes up or down, I make a set dividend payout every single month. And like ExxonMobil, for example, I bought that at a 6% dividend, and then they raised it to an 8% dividend. So I landed buying ExxonMobil at an 8% dividend. So no matter how ExxonMobil stock does, I make 8% on my money. I make 6% on some of it and 8% on the other of it. Plus I get to ride it up. That's the same thing that happens with real estate when you buy preferred dividend. Now for investors, theoretically, this is awesome. It's amazing for investors, because for investors like me, if you're thinking like me, you're sitting back going, yeah, damn, I'm getting this dividend, no problem. Well, what happens when companies get pressed financially and they just don't have the money to pay you? They go bankrupt. They go into foreclosure, ladies and gentlemen. And now all that dividend that you wish you had, that you thought you were getting, now goes, boom, into the toilet bowl. And so that is the problem with big REITs right now. And that's going to be the problem with even small investors, because what big investors are doing, small investors are doing, ladies and gentlemen. And these people were paying out preferred dividends, even small syndicators, guys that had 200 units, 700 units, 1,000 units, 2,000 units, 3,000 units. These guys all are small in the game. They're tiny. I'm still tiny in the game, guys. So when you're talking like these guys that own 30,000 units, you're a small player. You're 10% of the big players' game, right? So you're a small guy in the game still. So you see all these like 10 plexes, and you see these 20 plexes, and you see these 50 unit, 100 unit deals. This is going to rise all the way up to 500 plus unit deals into institutional assets, guys, because this happened across the board. Just think about it. Drive down any street in America, in any city, anywhere. There's apartment buildings everywhere, guys, all over the place. It's all over. It's going to happen with warehouse buildings, retail, office. Retail and office are getting crushed. Those of you guys who can get creative and reposition office and retail are going to crush it. That's the stuff we've been doing, because those guys are getting super crushed. Because if multifamily is getting crushed, those guys are getting crushed. So multifamily is only getting crushed by those people who paid too much for assets with too low of cap rates and don't have the ability to refinance at a low cap rate, right, at a low interest rate right now, because they're on an adjustable rate mortgage. They're screwed. And if people that were paying out preferred dividends, they're screwed. Okay, now maybe those that were really conservative and paid out like modest preferred dividends, and they bought right and they had a really tough underwriting criteria, they're probably okay. It's about a 2-year window, guys. This is only going to last for 2 years. And for me, who's almost 50 years old, I sit back and I go, look, like I don't know when the next time this is going to happen again in my life, if it ever does. Like, when is this opportunity going to happen for us again? Okay, now just remember, guys, I'm not done, but I'm going to explain to you guys how to take advantage of this. And if you love this content, you want more content just like this, then crush that thumbs up button, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you're always notified every time that we do a video like this. So you guys are getting kick-ass information forever. Okay, now look, so what you need to do is you need to reach out to every source of any type of real estate professional that you know, from brokers, wholesalers, everybody, and you need to be in their ear indefinitely. Like, I've been making calls to all the big brokers that I know all over the country. And I'm like, hey, bro, look, man, if you get any of these like 200, 300, 400, 500 unit deals, I'm interested in them. And because here's what's going to happen, what you guys are going to see. If you take a 3% cap rate, and I hope you guys are watching and following me on Instagram, and you guys are following my YouTube shorts and all that stuff, because I'm talking about this stuff all the time. And I'm talking about devaluation in assets, because if you take a 3% cap rate just from a year and a half ago, and if you increase that to a 6% cap rate, your value is you lose 50% on the dollar on the valuation of that asset. So if you took an asset that held a valuation of $20 million at a 3 cap, at a 6 cap, it's only worth $10 million. So some of these people that are selling off some of these assets, BlackRock has officially halted its purchasing of institutional assets. They are not buying real estate right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys go in and you guys look at BlackRock's investment portfolio and their arm right now, they are not investing in real estate right now. They're getting crushed. They are being forced. Institutional partners, the institutions, the banks that they're partnered with are forcing them to sell these assets. Here's the problem, is that they pay 3% cap rates. They overpay for everything already. Okay, they already overpay for it. So if they bought these things at 2%, 3% cap rates, and now they're on a fluctuating rate, mortgage, and it's not stabilized, and they're paying out preferred dividends, they need to get rid of this stuff, because they're paying out like 7% every year on just servicing debt on like $500 million buildings, $300 million buildings. And that's just a large number. When you have a ton of those things, man, money is just going out of the bank account, and you're getting crushed because it's trash can money. That's what my wife and I always called it, is trash can money. So what happens is they bought at a 3% or sub 3% cap rate. Banks aren't lending on assets now at like 7%. They're going in and they're saying, hey, we're only going to finance you 60 or 70% loan to value. That's it. That's all we're going to finance you. And we're only going to do this at a 6% cap rate. So 3%, 6%, if this thing was $100 million, now it's only worth $50 million. That means that if you're looking at a building and it was purchased for $10 million, now if the cap rates those compressed cap rates are gone, and now interest rates go up, that building's only worth $5 million on real underwriting valuations from financial institutions, ladies and gentlemen. That's all that matters. Like, when you pay an appraiser to go and appraise a building, and they're looking at it from a real standpoint of finances, and that cap rate has to grow with the interest rates just to service debt, the value goes down. Now, if you're holding assets, who cares? Because over time, real estate always goes up in value. But we're literally, in our values, even on our construction projects, getting crushed on valuations. But it's okay, because we're building them and almost at cost. And then we go in and we just have interest rates that we're stabilizing at a high enough interest rate and cap rate that we're still crushing it. Worst case scenario for us, we just cash flow. We can't take out these big, massive cash out refinances right now. We will in the next 2 to 5 years, but we have an asset that's going to go up no matter what. And we have a cap rate that supports our stabilized value. That's what's important. So people like us, we're not getting crushed because we're building them to service this business model. And we've been doing it because that's why I told you guys the story at the beginning of this video. If you didn't watch the beginning of this video to see how that supports our business model and what I was doing in 2018, then go back to the beginning of this video. And when you watch from the beginning, hit hashtag replay in the comments section, letting us know that you've rewatched this video so that you understand the entire story behind this. So that way, if you're sitting back going, scratching, going, well, how did he get up to this? And how is his business model different than these other guys? Because it was the way from my 2008 experience on how we actually have escalated to this. We built this for the recession. We built our business for this right now. Now we're sitting back going, okay, we're building them, but now we're going to buy them. Like now we're building them, but man, these cap rates coming up on with higher interest rates and cap rates going up and valuations getting crushed, man, we're going to buy that stuff all day long, ladies and gentlemen. Same way you buy stocks in the stock market. When stocks get crushed and you have companies like Boeing that are getting crushed right now, there's 2 large airplane manufacturers in the world. Boeing's one of them. That's as close to a monopoly as there is. They're not going anyplace. Our federal government's going to continue funding Boeing to produce manufacture airplanes because we need them. So they're not going anyplace. Just invest in Boeing, right? That's what I do. You know, companies like Johnson & Johnson that just settled out their talc powder deal with cervical cancer or ovarian cancer, whatever it was. And so now that's the type of stuff. So real estate's the same way. It's not going anyplace. We need rooftops to live under. When I graduated high school, ladies and gentlemen, our population on this earth was 4 billion people. We're just under 8 billion people. That means in the last 30 years that our population just shy of doubled. So what's going to happen in the next 30 years? It's probably going to double again, right? We're like rabbits, right? We just keep popping out babies. So the world's going to continue growing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time right now. And I just tell you guys, where there's blood in the water, there's opportunity, but you got to pay attention. Just don't be the one bleeding in the water, right? Don't be that person. Just be standing up there going, damn, that sucks. I don't have a life pole long enough to save you, but shit, let me get the piece of this boat out of the water so no one else dies, right? And then you just sweep up the pieces. And this is how wealth is created, ladies and gentlemen. We don't wish this upon anybody, but we all have decisions. We're all big boys, big girls, and some people just have to man up. I had to man up in 2008. You know, I had to put my head down and work. Like if I thought I was wealthy, I thought I was independently wealthy. I thought it was time for retirement. And I had my son in 2008 because my wife and I were ready. And we sat back going, shit, man, it's time. Let's take the foot off the pedal and let's raise some kids. Let's have a good time. Let's enjoy life. God had a different plan for me. And I had to put my head down and work like I've never worked before, harder than I worked from the day I opened my business. And that continued for the next 10 years now. And I'm still working it, guys, because then I figured it out and I got excited again. I was like, damn, I need to take advantage of this. And I need to really make a push. Like this might be my last push at my age that I can do. I mean, I've been at this entrepreneur game for 30 friggin' years. You know, I've been self-employed since 1992, 93, you know? So ladies and gentlemen, where are you at in your life? And where do you want to make a difference? I've had a pretty good life. I have nothing to bitch and complain about. God's been good for sure. And I always say, as long as he blesses me with health, we're gonna crush it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is time to buy. Don't worry about the blood in the water. Just make sure you're not one of the ones bleeding. Most people aren't even going to realize it because you're working nominal jobs, you haven't invested, and you're not even going to feel this recession. So don't worry about it. Now figure it out, get educated, and figure out how you could pick up your little piece of the pie like I did in 2009 in Phoenix, buying all these properties for dirt cheap and being able to go out and sell all those for a $2.3 million profit. Dump that into a $7.8 million apartment complex that we just refinanced for $15 million 2 years, a year and a half ago. And that money's just been able to compound, just boom, just compound. That's one investment, guys. One out of hundreds and hundreds of investments that we have. That's just one example. So ladies and gentlemen, as bad as it is, there's opportunity. Just understand where the opportunity lies, where it's coming from, and what to look for, and what to explain to the brokers that you're looking for, so that when the right deal comes in front of you, because they're still going to be throwing garbage at you guys. They're still going to be throwing a bunch of bullshit at you. All these guys are going to try. They're going to try to get full values. But when the bank pushes back and says, hey, it ain't worth that, you're going to have to raise another $5 million to buy this piece of shit asset that's not worth what this $10 million bullshit that it once was a year ago. People are going to sit back and go, oh shit, no one can buy it. Like if I can't buy it, no one can buy it because banks aren't willing to do it unless someone's stupid enough to take investors' capital and dump it into an asset that doesn't freaking cash flow. Like who's dumb enough to do that? There's people dumb enough, believe you me, but very few. Okay. So understand values are coming down, opportunities on the horizon, invest. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want more content like this and you love this content, smash that thumbs up button, click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You guys go out and compound your success. And thank you for joining. We'll see you guys next week. God bless you. Go out and crush it. YouTube family.